Is that Pittsburgh Pirates hat?
Pushing P.
Skeens.
Dude, welcome back to hanging out with the dudes on Dudes in Sports. I'm your host, PC, coming at you from the middle of the United States where the beer is cold and we've seen more Super Bowl wins than the whole state of New York. I got my main man from way out west, P4.
Hello, folks. JETS.
Then I got my man from the same area code as me, the guy K-Stelt.
How's it going?
And then I got the boy from St. Louis, who's for some reason a Tennessee Titans fan.
Yo, 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 it's your boy from the 314.
Alright, so we're going to come up to our first topic of the day, the Super Bowl. Now obviously, last Sunday, the boys brought the chip back to the city, and as we went back to back. K-Stelt, you're from the town. How is it? How are you feeling about it?
Honestly, I'm pumped. I'm pumped. Back-to-back is crazy. Honestly, if you would have told me like 3 years ago that we were going back-to-back, honestly, it would have been a little hard to believe it. But, you know, with Pat Mahomes, you know, anything's possible. I think the dude is on the way to, chasing Tom Brady's greatness, Other than that, defense is one of the best I've seen in KC for a long time. And, of course, Patrick Mahomes with the ball at the end of the game. It's an automatic win in my opinion. So I'm pumped. I'm excited. I'm excited for the next season, man. I've been doing mock drafts all day.
Yeah, I'm super excited too, man. I mean, huge win for the boys. But obviously, we have some fellas in here who really aren't as big Chiefs fans. So we'll go up to the guy out west. You just saw it as a normal fan. How did you enjoy the Super Bowl this year?
It's pretty simple, really. Two great defenses, obviously. Good run games. But at the end of the day, it comes down to who has the better quarterback. And Patrick Mahomes, as Kyle said, is putting himself up there. It was a decent game. It was pretty good for a Super Bowl. You got the overtime, all that. But I don't think it was that surprising.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we've been talking about Patty, obviously, Patrick Mahomes. Howard, would you put him in the consideration maybe? Where would you put him in like the Mount Rushmore? Because obviously we know Brady is the greatest of all time. But would you start pushing Patty towards that, or is he still kind of firmly? Or what are your thoughts?
I mean, he's definitely trending upwards, especially winning like third and that he has, and he's like the guy to beat right now. So he's definitely like the one person that should be in Tom Brady talks. And at the same time, I think that it's too early to say that he surpassed or he's like going to do this because, I mean, we don't know the future. We're talking about the now, not hypotheticals like Justin Herbert or anything. So I think if you go kind of off of where we're at right now, that Mahomes is going there, but it's still a ways away that he's got before Brady talks.
Yeah, no, I completely agree on that. I think he's definitely on his way, though. So P4, we've obviously, as being a Jets fan, you've always been screwed over by flags over the past few, games, years, whatever. I just wanted to get your thoughts. How did you think the referees officiated this game?
Well, the Niners were not nearly as screwed as much as the Jets were with the bullshit calls on Michael Carter picking off Patrick Mahomes in their Sunday night game earlier this year. Zach Wilson would be considered one of the greats of our generation if that win was pulled off. One of the only quarterbacks to outplay Patrick Mahomes in every facet of the game in Mahomes' career, college, high school, NFL, what have you.
Shout out Baker Mayfield.
Regardless, during the Super Bowl... Sure.
He said Baker Mayfield, by the way.
And I think as far as the Super Bowl, refs kept the flag in their pocket for the most part. There wasn't a whole lot to officiate. I think the guys played a pretty clean game. I think the officials could have done a better job explaining the rules of overtime to the 49ers. If not, at least the 49ers coaches should have at least took a stab at that, maybe mention it to the players walking through, pass-bys. But, yeah, the refereeing and the umpiring, as far as the game went, it didn't seem to be as big of a factor as it usually is in these primetime games.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I thought the refs did a great job of the game. Obviously, usually if it goes Chiefs' way, I'm usually agreeing with that. But so we were talking about these two great defenses. I'm going to go over to Howard here. Obviously, the 49ers lost a really key player in Greenlaw. when he tore his Achilles on the field. Could you tell that made some type of impact on the team or the defense overall?
Oh yeah, I mean, first of all, that was a crazy injury. Like he was like hyped getting back on the field, and that shit just literally like popped, and like it was wild to see in real time. I mean, Chase Young or Frank Warren was on the sideline crying, and I mean the whole defense was definitely felt like affected by it. Like it hurt, like it sucked. So they tried to go on there and play, and they did a really good job, I thought, literally until like that last drive where Steve Wilkes called like maybe the worst drive of his entire life on defense. So I think they still did good overall, but it definitely probably would have been a lot better if they had a guy like Greenlaw out there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that totally changed the game. You know, it seemed like the Chiefs' offense was finally getting clicking and rolling. So, but speaking about the Chiefs' offense, let's go look over at their defense a little bit. K-Stelt, can you talk about just like how great this defense has played, like in these playoffs and then in the Super Bowl as well?
Yeah, I think Steve Spagnuolo, or however you want to call it, he honestly is one of those guys that has the accolades to go into the Hall of Fame as an assistant coach. Now, I don't know if any assistant coach has gone into the Hall of Fame, but 4 Super Bowls is huge, and I think the way he calls the game is perfect. And now also the personnel for the Chiefs was impressive. I think Trent McDuffie was the defensive player of the game in my opinion, but I have to shout out Mike Pennell, the practice squad dude, absolutely former Jet, but I saw him, shove Trent Williams down to the ground and just absolutely dominate some points of the game. And Leo Chanel, 2 guys that aren't really talked about in the national media, had probably one of their best games of all time. But if I had to pick a defensive player of the game, it had to be Trent McDuffie. That dude, is up there as one of the top corners of all time. Some people like
of all time.
Put Sauce Gardner up of all time, man. I'm saying it right now. The way he's playing, man. First 2 seasons, he's got a Super Bowl. I think he's going to be one of the best defensive cornerbacks in our generation. Daryl Reeves
can't
can
even
go and
sniff
shove it.
Antonio Cromartie's Josh.
Daryl Reeves
He
can
was
go.
a CB2.
No.
Okay. So, dude, obviously we got some serious reactions from the other dudes. First, let's start off with the man from way out west, and then we'll go on to the kid from St. Louis.
Ridiculous. It's silly, stupid bullshit that he just came up with on the spot. Doesn't make any goddamn sense. I mean, you dub all the way, bow down, my friends, but what are we talking about here? The kid's played 2 years. We're not even saying Sauce Gardner's the greatest.
And 2 Super
Sauce
Bowls.
is
2
3
Super
times
Bowls.
the corner McDuffie could ever be.
Ring.
I mean, what are we talking about? This is ridiculous. I
He
mean,
has 2 rings.
yeah, he played a good game. He's going to be a good corner, I hope, and I pray for the kid. But best corner of all time, I mean, fuck, you got Deion Sanders. I could name a dozen guys who, it's not even close.
He will.
Okay, sure, he will. I doubt that, because as far as the cornerback position is considered, the defensive backs and safeties, corners, most defensive players, the rings are not what you count. That's a quarterback mostly driven way to say it. To say someone won 2, I mean, fuck, you can name a practice squad guy who won 2 rings. Does that put him up in the conversation?
I mean, I watched, I watched Trent McDuffie, change the game in multiple ways.
A game.
His blitz,
A game.
on the 3rd or 4th. I don't know, man. I watch him play every year.
Sure, which has been
Right?
2.
2 years. So I know, but
I appreciate you sticking by your
the way
guns,
he plays and the
but
way
this
he
is-
covers.
This is a little silly.
I will. I'll just say this: in the next 10 years, we're gonna go back and say, you know what, that guy Trent McDuffie, he's gonna be having Hall of Fame, NFL films.
We're in the
type.
prediction.
You like Reggie White? You watch
segment
the
of the
Reggie
podcast.
White films, and you go, man, that guy was a stud. And Trent McDuffie, I'll tell you right now, he's gonna have those
He's going to
Super
or
Bowl
has?
highlights on his resume.
Clarify.
He will. I mean, I guess he has anyways. But that's all I have to
Doubling
say.
down.
All right, let's get back on track here. So P4, obviously, wild accusations there, but I want to get your little bit of thoughts on the Kansas City defense as well. Do you think they played pretty well? And would you maybe consider them being the best defense in the league
No.
this year?
They were real good. I think Spags has a big part of that. I think on a talent level on paper, if you're to look at PFF grades or something like that, they're not up there. I know who the best defense is in the NFL, if you're asking. PFF grades aside, is the New York Jets. That defense was incredible, especially in the positions they had to play. It is a little bit easier and better to play defense if Patrick Mahomes is on your side of the ball. But when you have fucking Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian as your quarterback and still able to hold some of the better offenses in the NFL, make them look silly. I mean, they made Mahomes look silly. And Zach tore him up a little bit. I mean, at a minimum, he had a good game, maybe one of his best games. And regardless of your opinion on Zach, if it's bad, then that's more of a ticket to the Jets being the better defense. So, yeah, they're a good defense. They could beat most teams. But I don't know about best defense. I'm not putting up there with the Bears, 85 Bears, or the 1,000 Ravens. They're a good defense. Spags is a good play caller. But McDuffie is not the corner that some people say he is, apparently.
All right, so Howard, same question coming out to you, man. If you had to pick, the Chiefs' defense was obviously phenomenal, okay? 49ers had a great year, but there's also some great contenders, as stated by P4. The Jets' defense was good. We could also look at the Bills. They played some good defense as well. So who do you think was the best defense in the league this year?
Man, I mean, overall, like, we take into account the regular season and shit, the Ravens' defense was just fucking nuts. I mean, like, they still, like, they kind of had a little disbursement against the Chiefs, but that second half, they were shutting shit down. And if Lamar, as much as I love him, I'll put this in there, if Lamar actually didn't try and play hero ball and try to go way over the top, that game would have been a lot closer, if not a different result, if he literally showed up. Because in the second half, that Ravens defense was going crazy. I mean, they were making it hell for Mahomes, but it didn't matter because the Ravens couldn't score. So I think that would be my top one of the year, but I would also say that the Chiefs definitely had like they are definitely most improved defense in the entire league. If not like top 5 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, man. I totally agree with that. The Ravens kind of balled out all year. They were the number 1 seed. I picked Lamar to be my MVP and ended up being MVP. Just a phenomenal team. Just unfortunately met Patty in the playoffs, and not many people come out with victory in that. Let's talk a little bit about that offense. That wide receiver core was detrimental throughout the entire Chiefs year. They dropped many different passes. Huge drop in the end zone against the Eagles. An offsides penalty that took away one of the greatest plays to ever have happened, even if it didn't exist. So, K-Stelt, can you talk about the improvement of the wide receiver core throughout these playoffs?
Yeah, I think it was, the Chiefs looking at what they had, and I think they went to Patrick Mahomes a little bit. And, after that Patriots game when Tony, cost another interception, I think they looked at it and said, this guy can't be on the field. And I know it stinks because, I think all of us can understand if Tony has the ball, the guy's pretty freaking good. And the only problem he has is he can't catch. And Sky Moore, of course, wasn't the guy that we thought he was going to be this year. MVS had his troubles, but you had to understand this Travis Kelce, even though he didn't have his 1,000-yard season like he does every other year, he came into the playoffs and, balled out. And maybe that was because he had a blonde looking at him every freaking second of the, game. But, I think it was also just Andy Reid's scheming. Andy Reid's one of the greatest play callers of all time, and Patrick Mahomes trusts him. Rashee Rice, of course, broke out, one of the best yak players of all time, or I guess of this season. But, as a rookie, the dude was a stud. If we're looking at stats for most rookies for the Chiefs, he's up there. I guess he passed Dwayne Bowe for those rookie stats. But other than that, I guess it only matters when the playoffs come around because, most people were counting out the Chiefs because their wide receiver room stank. But, when the playoffs came around, we just saw a different Chiefs offense, and especially going against some great defenses, especially Baltimore. But other than that, I hope Brett Veach goes into the offseason looking for some more wide receivers because I don't think that you're going to be able to do what you did this year as the Chiefs with that wide receiver core. So hopefully we get some guys, get some more help for Patrick Mahomes because, defenses are smart enough to figure out those schemes, and we just need guys that can beat those best corners for the other team 1v1.
Yeah, 100%, man. The offense was rolling there in the second half. We had a really, really big stall, in the very beginning. We couldn't capitalize on a turnover in the first quarter. Eventually got that 3 points. But if we're talking about special teams, the Chiefs won that in a dominant fashion. A huge muff punt that cost us to be able to get some points on the board, and then also Harrison Butker being able to, consistently make field goals. Let's go over to P4 here. Would you want Harrison Butker as your kicker, or are you like somebody else in the league over maybe
Butker's
Harrison
a good kicker. I think ranking kickers is one of the lowest forms of conversation we could have on a podcast. If we don't want any listeners, I think we could rank kickers for a couple episodes. I like Greg the Leg. I like our guy. I think there's some other good guys in the league. Nick Folk, is he the Titans kicker now? Nick Folk?
Yes, and he's honestly there has not been a good Titans kicker since Suck Up.
Fat Randy.
That's when Alex Smith
Former
was
Chief.
playing for the fucking Chiefs.
Former Chief.
So yeah. And he came on our team and nailed a game-winning field goal against the Chiefs. But and the same point, kickers, they matter a lot going as a Titans fan. We've had some garbo kickers, Cairo Santos, bitch ass. But
hey, we dealt with him too.
We're pretty good.
Points for you.
Yeah,
Dang.
no, he was god awful. But he
Yeah, it's true.
he was pretty bad. So we went through some stuff. But Nick Folk is pretty good. So I would keep my kicker over Butker. But Butker is one of the better ones if we're going on that route.
Yeah,
obviously we weren't going to spend much time on kicking, but let's let Kyle Stelting talk because he needs to talk a little bit. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's talk about the decision of talk about the dad, Kyle Shanahan at the end of the game. I don't know what his ideas were for getting the ball first in the overtime game. I thought, if you're playing anybody else, I guess you could take the ball. But, man, with Patrick Mahomes, I feel like you'd want to kick the ball if it's going to be that type of overtime game, Now, I guess the overtime rules that were changed didn't really matter because the Chiefs stopped them and held them to a field goal. But that's where the risk comes in.
So great if they scored a touchdown and the whole team rushed the field and they thought that they won it.
I watched the mic'd up, and it seemed like the players realized it when they were going on the field. So I don't think they would have done that. But if it did happen, that would have been pretty funny. But it seems weird as Kyle Shanahan, to think, okay, if we score a touchdown, they score a touchdown, and we get the ball, we can win. I can see where you're coming with that type of, thought. But the defense for the Chiefs has been, they've been shutting out the 49ers, honestly, and that's the risk you take is if you get a field goal, you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in his magic book of whatever it is to go down the field and win the game, and that's just what happened. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's totally understandable. I mean, you gotta look at it a little bit of Ryan Shanahan. He's done some really great play calling and stuff, but maybe going over a little bit. It's kind of weird to think about that. It didn't even come up in conversation. Just simple, little bits of hey, we don't want the ball. So I don't know if there was a confusion or anything, but if that was the game plan going in, but very, very.
Can I break the fourth wall real quick? You said Ryan Shanahan, and earlier Nick Howard said Frank Warner, who is a British.
Frank Warner.
He's a British boxing promoter, and he did not say Fred Warner, and I caught it.
Fred.
His name's Fred.
You guys tell that this is our first podcast.
How's podcasting debut?
Mike Shanahan, Ryan Shanahan.
This is a beautiful.
Perfect. It's perfect.
Beautiful.
It's exactly how it
We're
is.
doing
ask me
okay.
about the wide
We're doing
receivers?
okay.
Oh yeah.
We're doing okay. Obviously, they ended up winning the game, and the confetti flies, and you see Patrick and everything like that. A little bit of a reaction, Howard, from the speech from Travis Kelce. Just seeing what your thoughts were. Did you think it was good as last year's, or anything like that? Did you have any recollection of that?
I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I don't have too much, but I did see it pop
He
up
turned
when
the
I was
game
like
off
outside.
right
So
when they
I
won.
think, no, I was out. I was out in public, but I looked up and I kind of could hear it, so I was a little bit. But I mean, at the same time, I feel like last year's was so natural that like anything you try to follow up with is like down and all that.
Yeah, I mean, when you
like,
win 3
compared to
Super
what it is.
Bowls, it's hard to keep making speeches. I'm sure you guys would know a lot about that since you're
Cool, because in one podcast you fucked up many a times.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kyle in the Chiefs' bad days was a primary Royals fan, anyways. Which
That is
Yes,
true.
dude.
you know,
That is true.
I did also can attest
All right,
to
well,
that.
let's move on to a little bit of afterwards. We had the great parade out. I was actually able to go out there, but then unfortunately we had some stupid people decide to make some stupid decisions. We had one death of a DJ from Kansas City, and we had multiple people injured, multiple kids getting, gunshot wounds, stuff like that. Very scary, horrific. I want K-Stelt just to kind of, your perspective on this, and then I'm going to come back and talk about a little bit of my own personal experience about this, but just your thoughts.
Yeah, I was listening to it on the radio, and I was kind of surprised, hearing the whole emergency situation, but it stinks, and, it's been on my mind more than the actual win, especially with my city, with that happening, it sucks. It absolutely sucks, and, we're not here to get into anything else, but, I hate the fact that happened, and my prayers go out to everybody who was there, but if we're moving on to the good side of the of the parade and the rally. One of the biggest thing I heard was Chris Jones saying that he's coming back. If I'm Mike Veach, bro, or Brett Veach, I'm scared because I gotta pay Snead this season and he wants money, and now I gotta pay Chris Jones, and then I gotta pay Bolton, I gotta pay Tranquil. He was sitting there as the Squidward face when his mouth is all sucked up. That's what Brett Veach's face was because Chris Jones is not going to roll in like Travis Kelce and say, hey, I'll take a pay cut for $10 million a year just to play on a winning champion. I mean, maybe he does, but, this puts the Chiefs' cap space at another level with Chris Jones. And Chris Jones, I believe, right now is the greatest defensive tackle in the league. I know Aaron Donald is still in the league, but, he's getting real old, and Chris Jones is in his prime. But, dude, you got to pay. This defense was crazy. And now you got to figure out, hey, who's able to take a salary cut? Are we going to franchise somebody? And not only that, you have to focus on the 2022 draft class, who is a big, big factor in that defense of the Super Bowl. You have to pay those guys. George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie, as I already said, he's going to be one of the greatest corners of all time. You got to pay these guys. They're big-time players. Trent McDuffie was a sole reason that this Super Bowl was going to the Chiefs' favor. And now Brett Veach is not only going to have to figure out who they're going to draft, who they're going to cut, who they're going to figure out. It's going to be crazy. So that's what that's my biggest take from the parade or rally. Travis Kelce drunk as hell on the stage. It was just because his girlfriend was out of town. He wanted to get a little silly, but that was what.
Yeah,
I
man.
got
I mean,
from
I
the
was
parade.
I was at the parade, man. It was a great time. I got to go out with a few friends or whatever, and I was out there at that rally, and Travis was 100% drunker than anything. I think I heard he was doing Lombardi luges with the Don Julio. So our boy Travis out there was having a great time. Just horrible things hearing that there was a shooting there. It's just a really horrific thing. I really, all our condolences go out to the families, everybody that's, involved. Thank you to the first responders for getting there. As I said, I was out there. We didn't really hear anything, but we were kind of walking away, and there was maybe 30 police officers from the Kansas City area, from Missouri State Patrol to, just the first responders in general. 30 of them run past us, and everybody else is running away, and those guys have the courage to be able to run towards somebody that is causing other people harm. So just wanted to give my little piece about that. As we kind of heard, K-Stelt was kind of getting in the offseason. That was kind of my next little segment to kind of go into, was kind of getting into, our guys' NFL offseason hopes. It's, hey, brand new year now. Yes, we are back-to-back champs, and you're going to have to hear about it till August. But after that, it's a brand new season. Now, I want to start with the guy down in St. Louis. Obviously, he's a Tennessee Titans fan, okay? But I just wanted to see who would be a guy that you're going to look at in this draft upcoming that you would like, that you would think would be a great asset to your team. And then I'm going to go to the boy out west, and then finally down home to the guy K-Stelt. But Howard, who do you want first out of the draft?
Well, Kyle, our Titans have the 7th pick in the draft, and I think that if we can get either Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu into the spot for us, a tackle would be very highly needed, and I think that would be a solid pick in general. If Marvin Harrison were to fucking fall with absolutely incredible just luck, and we also get maybe Malik Neighbors to go down to that spot, that would be pretty nice too. But I also would be fine with dealing that to the Bengals potentially. There's talk about T. Higgins on the move and getting tagged, and he's not going to want to play possibly. So that would be something big. If we can make a trade, we have a lot of money for $75 million to be exact in cap space, second most in the NFL. So I think we can use that to our advantage along with the draft. But I'd say for a safe pick, I think Alt or Fashanu being there would be two huge ones.
Cool, yeah. All right, boy out west, who do you think for your New York Jets?
The New York
who you want out of the draft?
Jets. Jets. They have the 10th pick in the draft. They're picking a couple slots behind the Titans. I think the Titans and the Jets probably have the same plan going in. You got to bolster the offensive line. You got to help out your wide receivers. The good news coming out of the Jets trade this last offseason, and obviously with the Aaron Rodgers injury, is that we didn't have to give up our first. He played less than 75% of snaps. We ended up giving up our second, which may play a factor during the draft. We've seen Joe Douglas, the GM of the Jets, trade up a couple times, but we've never seen him trade down. He's traded up to select Jermaine Johnson, obviously, Pro Bowl, edge rusher, defensive end, linebacker, whatever you want to call him, but that guy's an absolute stud. We traded up in the first round to get him from the Tennessee Titans. Thank you very much. I think in this next year's draft, I think there's a possibility that whoever the Titans select, I think they're going to go number 1 OT. Depending on how the first couple picks shake out, I think we could see some quarterback needy teams trade up into some of those slots. But if it kind of forms out how the experts are saying right now, I think both those tackles will be on the board when the Titans pick. And after that, we have Atlanta and Chicago. One of those teams may take a tackle, but regardless, if number 10 ends up on the clock and the Jets are waiting for their pick, and one of those tackles is there, I think they take them. Obviously, the Senior Bowl has happened already, and Jeff Ulbrich, the Jets defensive coordinator, was one of the head coaches of that. They saw the tackle from Oregon State. I'm having trouble pronouncing his name, Fanaga or something like that. The Jets seem to like him a lot, so if both those tackles are there, maybe the Marvin Harrison falls, Titans go Malik Neighbors, some guy like that, and both the tackles are there, I could see the Jets trading down a little bit, wait for one of those tackles to go, and maybe hop over and go Funga. I'm not a big O-line expert or anything. I'm not doing the stats on those guys. But I think I got Alt number 1, Olu number 2, and I got Funga number 3. And if any three of those guys are available at 10, I expect the Jets to take them. Possibly, if more than one is available, I could see them trading down to maybe recoup that second-round pick they lost in the Aaron Rodgers trade. But I think it's a big, exciting offseason. Joe D has been damn near spotless when it comes to drafting players. And I'm excited to see what happens. Jets, hopefully, third time in a row, offseason champs. Beat the fuck that. Kansas City fans.
Speaking of Kansas City fans, K-Stelt, what you think? Who do you like in the draft?
I've done a ton of mock drafts for the past, I guess, 6 months, to be honest. I guess
boo this man.
Right.
He's awful. He's awful.
Man.
Wherever he is, he may be over there. He may be up here.
Mock drafts in July is kind of wild.
I think I know. But, now that I look at it with Chris Jones saying that he's coming back, it just flips the whole script. I don't know if he's going to get 2 years. I don't know if he's going to get 1 year. But I guess right now, if he's coming back, I don't know if you need to look at a D lineman in the first round. I don't think the D linemen this year are going to be that bananas. I had Byron Murphy as my 32nd pick. And honestly, it was kind of iffy to take him. He's a good freaking player. But honestly, right now, if I'm the Chiefs and you want Chris Jones back, I'm looking at wide receiver first round. And honestly, I just said a Texas kid. I'm looking at some more Texas players. That team was a stud-filled roster. And Xavier Worthy, he's good. I don't know if he's 32nd, though. I don't know if he's going to be a 32nd overall type player. I think a Donnie Mitchell is what I want as a Chiefs fan. I'm not Brett Veach. He's got so much more, guys out there looking at talent. But from what I've seen, I'm a Big 12 football watcher. Donnie Mitchell is one of the best route runners I've seen in college football this year. If not, I think Keon Coleman is another dude to look at. That guy was a stud. He was going to be a KU basketball guy, but, football's a sport. Other than that, I think you got to look at, in the corner situation, are you going to pay Snead now? I think get another corner, see what he can do. I think get a tight end is what you want to think about getting now, because Travis Kelce's only got, 2 or 3 more years on his contract, and he may be done before his contract ends. I don't know. The dude's old, and we saw him in the regular season. He was not looking as good as he could have been, but of course the playoffs came and he turned it up a notch. I like Ben Sinnott from K-State. I love the way he plays. He's a big-time blocker, and he runs routes well. He catches everything that comes towards his general location. I really want Peyton Wilson from NC State. I
Senior
know
Bowl grad, old Brick.
but
Go get him,
I
Brick.
want
Go
another
get him, Brick.
I want Peyton Wilson. I don't think we're gonna get him because I think he's just way too good. He's way too fast. And I think I want a running back too.
You guys re-sign Edwards
I know
Helaire
we
this
got
offseason, you think?
Pacheco, and he's a stud. I don't think we do, especially after what Brittany Mahomes and him did after the parade, man. Did you see that, man? If I'm Pat, I'm having a talk with
Maybe
my
they're so
Sports
close.
Illustrated
Maybe they're
wife
too close. You can't get rid
after
of them.
that, man. Maybe they are. I think you got to get rid of him. I like Edwards Helaire, but man, his vision's just kind of stinky. And Jet McKinnon, I don't know if he's re-signing, but he's getting old, and I don't know. I think you got to look at running backs because if Pacheco goes down, man, you're in a world of hurt. Our practice squad running backs this year were not good. We were focused on the guys that we had already, and I think 2 of those guys, Edwards Helaire and Jet McKinnon, are done this season. So I know we got Pacheco, and I think we just got to go out and get Cody Schrader from Mizzou. The dude runs hard. He runs real hard, and
with their other pick, they picked Dominic Puny. Do you have anyone outside of the Midwest on your draft board?
Dominic Puny, don't know, man. Don't know. I think I'm going right here in the soul of KC. It's hard to do these, draft picks, especially right after a Super Bowl, because you're just so fed up and, drinking all the champagne from the Super Bowl, and you don't really worry about your team. But I guess, if we're going for that three-peat, we need to figure out what we're going to do. But I think wide receiver first round is what we need to focus on upcoming.
Yeah, man. Dude, I'm all
try to get to that
on board with that. The guy that I really enjoy that I think could be a major asset. I love Chris Jones, and I agree that he's probably playing the best defensive tackle football. But he just wants so much money that I feel like that we could use in a different way, and helping sign some other guys, some key guys here that we're going to really need. We can't let Snead go. Okay, you can't let. Willie Gay already said that he was going to go on Twitter, but that guy would be a major loss. You got to sign Duff. You got all these extensions coming up. You got to let somebody go, and I understand, but I hope Chris Jones, goes somewhere in the NFC and destroys. Okay, but I'm really looking at a defensive lineman. I think for the first round, I really like Trevonde Sweat from Texas. I think that guy has a real motor on him. He really helped out Texas a lot this year.
Hey, he catches passes too.
Yeah, I know.
Catches
Yeah,
passes
exactly.
too, man.
He's
A little bit of
an athlete.
little Poe action from the Chiefs.
Yeah, I like
You know,
Sweat a
he
lot.
can
I just
outrun
like his
and
I
throw.
just like his motor, and I like his attitude. You mentioned K-Stelt. You mentioned Keon Coleman. I really enjoy Keon Coleman's game as well at at Florida State.
There's just no way he falls.
I mean,
for
it's
this.
and I don't think so either. But a man can always hope and dream that somebody's gonna fall. So you always got to pick somebody that hopefully maybe will fall a little bit. But you never know. And then I also really enjoy that that Schrader pick as well. I think that kid from Mizzou is really really special. Okay, so
Tough runner.
what we're gonna move on to now is if you got to pick one free agent to sign with your team within the parameters of your cap room, who are you picking and why? Let's go. Let's start out with the kid from. Let's go way out west. To see way out west kid can go up here first. Then we'll go to the Midwest guy in Kansas City, and then finally go out to St. Louis. So P4, you got a magic ball, got a magic lottery ticket. You get one free agent in your cap space. Whose name are you writing on that ticket?
Jets got some space, so I think just about everybody's on the table. Now my issue is kind of the same issue with the draft. Are we going OT? We going wide receiver? If we go OT, I think it's Tyron Smith heading away. I'm afraid me and Nick Howard are going to have similar answers. I think we're going to lose Mekhi Becton this offseason. I would at least give it a look. We didn't accept the fifth-year option, so at least you probably hit the free market. Whether or not we re-sign him is still up to Joe D. If we go wide receiver, I think there's a couple towards the top. I like Ridley. I think Higgins is obviously kind of the gem of the whole free agent class. We'll see what happens. Mike Evans has been kind of rumored to the Jets. I mean, anytime something big happens, they say go to New York, go see the fucking Rangers play, go sit courtside at a Knicks game. So they always like to put the cameras on the big guys, and Mike Evans has definitely started off to a Hall of Fame career. I like Mike Evans. If the Bucks re-sign him, I'd probably go Ridley, but obviously the crown jewel is T. Higgins. I'm looking for Higgins. Help out G-Dub a little bit, help out A-Rod a little bit. Devontae could be traded. We could be looking at the best 5 wide receivers in the NFL on the New York Jets next year, the entire Pro Bowl roster. But we got to help the quarterback out a little bit. I think that's definitely the issue with the Jets right now. You got to help out the quarterback, whether it be protecting or catching the balls that A-Rod's throwing. You got to protect the quarterback. That's what I'm thinking this offseason.
Yeah, that's completely logical, and I feel like K-Stelt's answer is going to be pretty dang similar as well. But let's go to the kid. Let's go out to that kid in KC. Who is your winning lottery ticket free agent signing that you want?
I mean, if we got all the money in the world like the MLB does, for the Dodgers' sake, of course, I want Mike Evans. I mean, Mike Evans has had that 1,000-year season going on for a while now. I don't think we're going to get him. T. Higgins, I'd like a lot. I think he's just going to ask for too much money. I think he goes to the Jets. He drops a couple passes that I don't want on the Chiefs. A lot of people want Calvin Ridley. You know what I think? I think I want Hollywood Brown on my team. I think we get that speedster on the field. I think we draft a really, really good route-running wide receiver in the draft, have our speedster, and, of course, Rashee Rice is already there. It's going to be I think that's going to be a pretty star-studded wide receiver room, in my opinion. I don't know if we need to go out and sign anyone defensively because we have just a young defense that isn't going to get paid in another 2 years. Safety-wise, we're pretty locked and loaded. Brian Cook is a stud who got taken out early this year. Connor just played his butt off. PFF-wise, he was a stud. And of course, Justin Reed had a breakout season. I think he was one of the more underrated safeties this season. But I think Hollywood Brown is, the realistic signing for the Chiefs this year, and I hope that we can get him for a good price with the way our offseason is
breaking
going,
news.
that want money,
Yak,
all that such.
wide receiver who cannot catch, going to Chiefs.
Not even that. My boy dissed T. Higgins, and then like 2 sentences later just praised Hollywood Brown. The guy that the Cardinals don't even want to bring back, and they're the fucking Arizona Cardinals. Kyle.
Collect yourself. Collect yourself.
All right, Nick. You got a lot of opinions over there, Howard. So, who is your guy? Who is your guy that you would like to have out of the free agency pool this year?
I mean, straight up, like anything happening we're living in now right now, like T. Higgins is the guy. I think that D-Hop is, I mean, he's cool with staying another year. He's loving Nashville. I think having him back another year would be really good because, I mean, holy shit, like his first 3 games, he was better than Julio's entire Tennessee Titans tenure. But I think he's doing good. If we can get T. Higgins, that'd be cool. Like if they end up franchise tagging him, which I think is a good possibility, I think the Titans can trade for him. But I do like if we can just pay some money for that O-line that is absolutely horrific. Because I'm on P4 side with we have to protect the quarterback, and Will Levis was a rookie looking good in the absolute horrific offensive line that I've ever seen watching as the Titans. But I think that if we can sign a guy like Mike Onwenu from the Patriots, I probably butchered the last name, but if we sign that guy who is a really solid tackle, young tackle from Patriots, I think that we could be really cooking in terms of our O-line and maybe go and make a trade for T. Higgins because we have a lot of money. We have $75 million in cap space, which is unheard of for the Tennessee Titans usually. So I hope we make a big splash somewhat. I would like a tackle. T. Higgins would be huge. Just something like that we can help. And then obviously pay a little money for that defensive backfield that was oh so horrific. Because I think we got a good defensive coordinator now that can help out. We just need the players who were clearly bad last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a T. Higgins fan. You know, as a Chiefs guy, you know, it always felt like that. That wide receiver was always that thing that was kind of our Achilles heel the entire year. You know, it really helped out in the playoffs. Obviously, you know, we had some big guys step up, and that was phenomenal. But you know, getting a guy like T. Higgins in there would be a huge veteran. You know, especially to help out a guy like Rashee Rice develop, I think would be a phenomenal pickup. Alrighty, fellas, that was some great insight on this Super Bowl, man. I had a great time today. You know, it's our first ever episode out here. You know, trying our best out.
Zero.
You know, and I'm having a great time. We're all learning as we're going. You know, obviously, you know, like, subscribe, all that kind of jazz. You know, we'll just get a few last thoughts from the boys. So let's go. The guy out west. Got any last thoughts for the folks out there?
No, I think we're trying our best. At least I would hope so, as far as my other members are concerned. Just all present here in the moment. Regardless, I think the NFL season, it was a good season overall. The Jets get a top 10 pick, and we get to see Aaron Rodgers play football next year. I think congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs or whatever. Congratulations to the Tennessee Titans for drafting a guy that puts mayonnaise in his coffee. But regardless, I think congratulations to everybody. Congratulations to you, the listener. Thank you for allowing me to speak my thoughts.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Midwest guys, let's go out with the guy in KC first. All right, what's your final thoughts on the podcast?
Taylor Swift is the reason the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. She fixed the entire thing, and I'm so thankful that she did that. But I still think Kanye is the best artist of our generation. And Trent McDuffie is going to be the greatest corner to ever play the game.
Man, he's always with the wild takes. Acting like Stephen A. Smith out here. All right, finally, the kid from St. Louis. Hey, give the people the last few thoughts, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, man, we're just some dudes on a podcast, you know. I'm pretty stoked that we're actually starting something like this now. It's episode 0. It's not perfect, but we got something out there, and our IQs are low, but the vibes are high. So, I mean, let's keep it rolling, and let's keep dudes in sports bumping, baby.
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm your host, PC, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Dudes and Sports.
I gotta head out.